What made you say real estate was going to be the next move? Did you have
Well,
interest in
honestly,
it or
I did. I did. I mean, I've always looked at houses, always had a passion for architecture, but me, I'm not smart enough to be an architect. So, I had to go a different route in order to achieve that. And once me and my husband started looking for a house ourselves, going through that process was such a learning journey. And the satisfaction that my realtor at the time got, Lori Hausman, um, that she got out of helping us get out of a situation where we were renting for a while, but we really wanted to buy. She helped us achieve that goal.
Mhm.
So just that pure excitement, I was like, man, this might be really something I want to take on. And, as I worked that 9 to 5 behind the desk every day, I kind of got burnt out on doing that. So uh, being my own boss, making my own hours and being the creator of my own fate is unmeasurable.
Yeah, and it was really just you going through the experience yourself as a consumer, as a
Correct.
buyer.
Hmm.
And you make that decision, did you jump in full time right away or did you transition in?
I did. I did. We got back from vacation one day, and we unfortunately came down with COVID. So I turned in my 2 week notice the day I got COVID. So I spent my 2 weeks studying for the real estate exam. And I had the full support of my husband. He's a director at the hospital, and he told me, if this is something I truly want to proceed, you need to put your all into it or put nothing into it. So I quit my job. He supported us for a few months while I studied and practiced, and it's I just want to prove to him as well that he made the right decision by letting me do this.
Yeah. What was some of those thoughts and conversations like, going from, a paying job to diving into a career where it's 100% commission, you're not
Hmm.
getting paid unless you're out there helping people. And a lot of times you're not getting paid sometimes, especially in the beginning, you know,
Right.
60, 90, 120 days, and 60 days is if you're lucky, right?
Really
So,
lucky. Yeah.
for those that are thinking about transitioning, and I'm bringing this up because I'm doing a little bit more interviews with people that are thinking about getting into this business.
Hmm.
But for those that are thinking about transitioning in, what were some of those thoughts and conversations like around just that?
They were very deep and elongated conversations. This wasn't an overnight decision to do. We did our research on what it takes. I talked to the realtor that I worked with buying my home to see what the process looked like. Did my homework myself by just seeing as far as insurance goes, as far as health, life insurance, all of that stuff plays a factor. And having a nest egg saved up definitely helped in the long run. So we definitely had that set up prior to me just jumping into this. So we had some stable support while my husband was still working full time. So it's just a matter of really digging in, doing that homework and having that conversation because it's not an easy one to make.
Yeah, and I think for me, I was 22 and just out of college, so I was already broke. I just needed to find a way to offset some of my bills and things like
For
that. And
sure.
you know, because normally real estate is not the first career choice; it's the second, third, fourth, fifth career choice of a
Hmm.
lot of people. That transition's hard.
Yeah.
And when you decide to jump into this business, I always ask people, and you've mentioned that you had a ton of support from your husband. Did you have doubters though? Did you have more supporters in your corner, more doubters in your corner?
To be perfectly honest, my biggest doubter was myself. How am I going to crank this out? How am I going to get myself out there? No one knows me, things like that. But that that voice eventually fades away. So I didn't really have too many doubters. A lot of people kind of questioned why I was doing that, going from a stable paid income to commission based. But at the end of the day, they knew my personality and how I would handle it.
And you said you got in while you had COVID, is when you went through classes. Was that 2020 or
Hmm.
2021?
That was right at the brink of COVID. So we just got
Okay.
back from Vegas, and it just happened to. That's when COVID really got discovered.
And that didn't sway any of your decisions. You would think that a lot of people would be like, "Oh, we have this, major pandemic. We got to stay in the house for 2 weeks," and like, "Oh, I'm just gonna, quit my job that pays me every 2 weeks to
Yeah,
dive into this other thing over here." That didn't hinder you at all.
you would think, but I was already committed. The commitment was there. The check had already cleared the account. Like we were in it. So we just made do. We DoorDash, we Ubered, in between just to kind of make a little bit of supplemental income, just to have a little bit of play money. But for the most part, we just committed to it and didn't look back.
I think that's a strong word, right? You have to be committed.
Hmm.
It's a lifestyle change.
It
And,
is.
the reason why I ask, supporters and doubters in that question is because, one, the majority of people are just too scared to do it, right? So they're
Hmm.
going to doubt you. But the supporters is really what you need, because you're diving into unfamiliar territory. And a lot of agents tiptoe, right? They
Hmm.
dabble in it a little bit, then they get too scared, right? Or they dabble in it a little bit just to get enough success, but not enough to fully commit.
Right.
And I think you just said something so key is, we were committed. There was no turning back. The check
Hmm.
was already cut. It was already cleared, and you figured out a way to make it work. You
Yep.
know,
We had a
you
plan in place.